What's good, YouTube? Card Fight King here. Got a brand new deck for you guys today. It's going to be on my newest Link Joker deck. I've gotten in a few tournaments with it, not with the completed version, but with the hybrid of Chaos Breaker and Nebula Lord. Did all right. Went 2-2 with it. I got I got shafted by crit triggers from my opponents, double critting me like just it was just not fun. But yeah, I've gotten into a lot of testing with this deck, and I'm here to bring you my thoughts on the deck. Even though there's a lot of it out there already, just want to give you my insight on the deck as well. So, going with Dust Unicorn as my starter. Some people run the Grade 3 Searcher, and I'm not, I'm not saying that it's a bad thing, but he's is not one is not a Star Vader, so that's just less soul that you have to soul blast with Chaos Breaker, and you're not all in you're not in a perfect world. You're gonna have all your Palladiums in your soul is gonna be stacked. It's gonna be this, gonna be that. Vanguard is not always a perfect world, and you're not always going to have all. You're not always going to see all your Palladiums, and you're not always going to see your Connie makers and things like that. So just having him being able to get that extra lock off and pushing himself in the soul as a Star Vader really helps Chaos Breaker, in my opinion. Four heals, gotta have them. I run 7 crit and 5 draw. The reason why some people would say just run 8 crit, 4 draw, but my thing is that Link Jokers are a slower deck than people would take them a grand for. Like, they don't deal with the rush early. It's not like they can superior call units of field. Yes, they can lock, but you could pressure them to 4 damage before they ride Infinite Zero or Chaos Breaker. It's kind of like, okay, well, they use Chaos Breaker to lock yourself and then draw, but not only is the soul kind of low, but they're at they're at a bit of a disadvantage as well. So the deck, I think, was a bit overhyped, but this is a it's a technical deck. Also has a lot of control elements, so it's a different style than Nebula Lord. Whereas Nebula Lord has more power to it, this deck is more of control and prolonging the lock, prolonging games. So I believe 5 draw is good enough. Same like Nebula Lord. 5 draw is good enough. Good balance in this deck, at least, between crit pressure and draw pressure. Not 6/6. I was doing 6/6, but I wasn't really seeing 10k shields, and it just wasn't flowing well with this deck. But I believe this lineup is working out for me pretty nicely. So let's get on to the grade 1. Alright guys, so for the grade 1s, I have 4 perfect guards. As I always say, in this day and age, and probably from now on until maybe Quintet Wall, when Quintet Walls come out with Legion, 4 perfect guards is too necessary. There's too many power plays, break rides, and things like that. Too many attacks that you just don't want that you do not want to have to throw down half your hand for. So 4 perfect guards, I believe, is necessary. I run 2 Chaos Beat Dragons. He is the personal booster for Chaos Breaker Dragon. If you have a locked unit, that's a 22k row. So he works in a rearguard circle or and when he's on the Vanguard circle. So I think he's one of the better 10k boosters in the game for as long as you can keep a card locked in their field. I have 4 Mana Shot Star Vader Neon. Some people play Lanthanum. I feel as if Lanthanum, he's the one where when you lock a unit, he gains decay. I feel as if that unit is more dead in this deck than it is active, rather than in Nebula Lord, because your Nebula Lord is more on your turn locking. This deck has more effects that keep the stuff locked on their turn rather than my turn. So he allows you for early game rushing if you can, and also late in the game, make 17, 16k rows. So I think he's really good. I need to get the SPs of him too. And I run 4 Palladium, excuse me. Palladium is probably one of the best grade 1 units to come out. His effect is, at the end of the turn, when the opponent's unit becomes unlocked, you counterblast 1, push into the soul, and relock it. So that means that they're going to be locked for on their turn for another turn, which is really good, which is what this deck does. It's about controlling the pace of the game, the flow, how aggressive they can and cannot be. Like, you regulate their plays. So he's really good, and he's a 7K booster. My only thing is with this deck is that counterblasts are limited. Unless you're hitting heal triggers, counterblasts are limited. And once you run out of counterblast, once you run out of soul, the deck becomes extremely vanilla, and then you're going to have to play just like that old Alfred beat kind of style, just raw, just beat down and hope to hit some triggers. All right, let's get on to grade 2. Alright guys, so for my grade 2 lineup, I run 4 Radon. He's the 12K attacker of the deck. No explanation needed there. One of the best grade 2 units around. Types. Those types. I run the new girl, Star Vader Colony Maker. Now, some people compare her to Tartu. I don't believe she should be compared to Tartu. In fact, I think that Tartu has a little bit more utility than her at times. But what she does is, when she's placed in the rearguard circle, counterblast 1, and if your opponent has a locked unit, you can superior call 1 grade 1 or less unit for Star Vader from your deck to any part of the field. Now, what she does is she'll search out Chaos Beat, she'll search out Palladium, which you usually put behind her. You thin your deck out and get some grade 1s. Now, why I say she has less utility than Tartu is because Revengers, what they do is they unflip damage all the time with Blaster Dark and Dorant. And with this deck, there's no damage on flipping unless you hit a heal trigger. So you really rely on the heal trigger to do that. And she can be somewhat of a reach, but she's really good in being able to keep Palladium, keep Palladiums on your field, keep them coming, keep Chaos Breakers, Soul stacked, and things like that because of Palladium. So she's really good in the deck, but only late game. Early game, she's completely dead unless you get off a combo, which I'm going to show you after I introduce him, Star Vader Mobius Breath Dragon. Now, I'm a big fan of Mobius Breath Dragon, and a lot of people I saw on the North America Vanguard hate him just because they feel that, he's a 9K vanilla on the rear guard. Well, here's the thing about him. When he's on the Vanguard circle, if he hits, you get to lock a unit. Yes. People are going to block him. Sure, okay. What that means is, because usually people will take a Vanguard attack on, grade 2. But that means that you're dropping a shield early game. And if you do break through the shield, well, bam. Not only do they take a damage, they drop the shield, and you lock a unit. So I think he's really key. And even on the rearguard circle, you can put him a 7K booster behind him, and that's a 16K row vanilla. I mean, you play the 10K vanilla, and the 10K vanilla is like, okay, I'll take that attack. That's fine. On grade 2 ride, and if on the rearguard circle, it's pretty much the same thing. There is really no difference between him and the 10K vanilla too much, other than if you do hit a trigger when your opponent attacks you, so to speak. So, I mean, he's just clutch, and you can also combo him with Palladium. Like, you have Palladium on the field, you have him, he hits, locks the unit at the end of the opponent's turn, the opponent's unit unlocks, counterblast 1, push him into the soul, relock, and then if you have Colony Maker, you can call out Colony Maker and get her skill off early. So that's just a few things you can do that Mobius Breath allows you to do. And so I really love him. He's one of my favorites. You don't have to play him, but in my opinion, I think he is probably the best unit right now that you could be running at grade 2. Outside of the outside the 10K vanilla and other stuff. Okay, let's get on to grade 3. Okay, and for the grade 3s, we have 4 Star Vader Infinite Zero Dragons. He is the he is the backbone. I'm not even say break right. He is the backbone of Link Jokers. When you ride on top of him, you just gain 10K and lock a front row and a back row unit on your opponent's side of the field. That's it. It's free locking. It's great. He's the backbone of Link Joker. It puts himself into the soul for Chaos Breakers effect, and you get to start off locking, by locking 2 units. just jumpstarts a world of pain for your opponent. And then we have the new boss of Link Joker, Chaos Breaker Dragon. Now, some people say that he is the most broken card. I beg to differ. He is not the most broken card. Nebula Lord does have his advantages over him, and they have their disadvantages. But what Chaos Breaker does is when an opponent's unit becomes unlocked at the end of the turn, you can soul blast one and retire that unit and draw a card. So you pretty much plus two off of that effect. It's a great effect. Now, his other effect is you counterblast one, choose a Star Vader from your hand, pitch it, and choose any unit on their field to lock. So what that brings is now we can lock front row units, which is what Nebula Lord lacked. We can lock front row units for a lesser cost, and that essentially being able to lock down a rear guard column that a trigger could be passed to, or an attack that could have been made. So that's really good, and being able to prolong locks on front row units is just so essential and is really good. Like, I think he's the epitome of defensive decks right now. But again, like I said, a problem with this deck is that if it gets rushed heavily early on and unable to hit triggers to alleviate that, or if you don't have anything to block it, this deck can really falter. It's a slower deck than people think. If you run out of soul, it's kind of vanilla. Actually, and if you run out of counterblast, it's kind of vanilla. It's extremely vanilla. So you gotta play smart with this deck. Gotta know when and when not to use your counterblast. Colony Maker and Palladium can be reaches sometimes, but sometimes they're gonna be necessary reaches in order for you to gain an advantage in the game. So that's my deck profile on Link Jokers. I have I'm gonna update my Aquaforce deck next. But I hope you guys like the deck profile. Like, comment, subscribe, and let me know what you think. This is the Cardfight King, and I'm out. Peace.